Hey everyone, Matt Suess here, and it is February 17th, 2022, and that means that it is the day for the release of Skylum's Luminar Neo brand new photo program. Some people ordered this way back in September 9th of 2021 when it was first announced, and I did a preview video of that. I'll have a link down below. You can take a look at my early preview video of this program. The first 30,000 people got early access to this program, so they've been using it for a few weeks now. I also had early access to this program as well. I wasn't able to do any videos until the release day, and here we are right now. And has the wait been worth it? Or is Luminar the worst, or is Luminar Neo the worst version yet? I'll let you know my conclusion in just a minute here. I won't make you wait for the entire video, but let me tell you what's going to go on in this video here. And I'm going to have links to all these chapters down below, so if you want to skip ahead. I'm going to talk about the user interface and workflow. I'll talk about the new AI that's in it. I'll talk about layers. I'm also going to spend a little bit of time on what's missing, and there is quite a list. I'll mention some of the bugs that I've been seeing too, and I'll also talk about what's coming in the future. But I will have to say, honestly, this is the worst Luminar release so far. Version 1.0.0, a lot is promised. So far, not a whole lot has been delivered. And I hate to say this because I got friends over at Skylum. Unfortunately, this release should have been postponed, and they really should have had a more fully functional version of this, especially when you compare it to Luminar 4 and Luminar AI with tools that they already had in there. Now, full disclosure, I am an affiliate with Skylum. If you want to purchase it, go down and check out my link down below. But I also, if you know me, I tell it like it is. And unfortunately, I'm really disappointed with this early first version. There's no way I can lie about it. There's no way I can say anything else about it. I'm sure you'll see a lot of other YouTubers out there that are saying this is great. I'm just going to tell you the facts here and report what I've been seeing and experiencing. So before we get into this, if you like what you see here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Hit a like on the video if you like this too. If you're unhappy with Skylum, don't hit the unlike button though on my video. Hit the like button because you know that I'm at least telling you the truth and letting you know what I honestly think about the program. So let's go ahead and we're going to get started, and we're going to start with the user interface here. And not much has really changed from Luminar AI to this. They moved, this whole panel over here was on the right-hand side before. But one big visual thing that really kind of bugs me is that any photo that you're on here, both in the catalog and when you're editing, they do a muted, faded version of that photo in the background. And let's go ahead and click on this thumbnail, which here's one of the bugs. This thumbnail hasn't fully rendered. You can see it's all pixelated and everything. But if I go under Edit, we can see that there's this outline here in the background, and it's really distracting for me. I prefer the ability to at least choose a neutral, solid background like I can in really every other photo editing program. So they're trying to be a little too slick here, I think, with the background here on visuals. Let me go ahead and we'll just grab this photo here, and we'll go into the edit because there's a bunch of things that have changed in here. At first blush, maybe you might not recognize them, but all of our edit tools are over here like they have been before in Luminar AI in particular. But up on top here, we have tools, edits, and presets. And I'm going to explain these panels here in a second. Up on top, catalog and edit. If I slide this window down and we take a look at Luminar AI that I have in the background, we had catalog, templates, edit, and exports. And while I'm here mentioning this, templates, used to be called presets, then they became looks, then they became templates. They're now back to presets. So just let you know about that. But we also had an edit and an export tab up here. The export tab in Luminar Neo is this tiny little button over here. Wish we had the export button up on top here, a little bit bigger to be able to find. Now, here's the big confusing thing about the workflow. We have tools and we have edits. When you start working on a photo, every time you use a tool and then switch to another one, those settings are going to be reset visually here in tools, and they're going to appear in edits. Let me show you what I mean here. If I go ahead and just start working on, let's say I just wanted to start working on Enhance AI, and I watch up here, this is called Develop Raw. If I start working in Enhance AI first, and I go ahead and adjust the accent AI. Well, first we have to wait a second because it's analyzing the photo, and then it will hopefully, there we go ahead and show us the enhancements here. Now all of a sudden develop is not raw develop anymore. What happened? I'll let you know in a second. Let's just go ahead and say we need to do a little bit of structure now. Go up to the structure, add some more structure to this. We'll wait a second while the AI catches up. There we go. And now it's added some structure to the photo. Oh, wait a second. I want to do a little bit more in Enhance AI. Well, wait a second. I go up there and it's zeroed out, yet the effects are still applied. What happened? All your edits, every time you do an edit, then switch to another tool, that edit gets applied to the file and then resides in your edits. Now, let's take a look at edits. Notice how I have at the very bottom the Develop Raw tool. Well, I didn't make any adjustments in Develop Raw, but it's here down below, and then here's Enhance AI when I did my Enhance AI adjustments, and then Structure. In Tools, it's now just Develop. Let me try and explain what's going on here. The Develop, when it says Develop Raw and you're working on a raw file, that is for editing raw data onto your file. In order for them to speed up this program, they did something a little crazy and weird here that took me a little while to get my head wrapped around, but they ended up, every time you do a tool, it ends up getting applied to the photo, and then you're ready to go into the next tool. So basically, this is kind of like a non-destructive editor, but also a destructive editor. Let me explain that a little bit further in case you're not following me yet. When you are working on Develop, you are working on the raw data here. It says Develop Raw. So I'm working on the raw data here, shadows, highlights, all that fun stuff. Notice how when I clicked on Develop though, all those other tools, they just disappeared right away from me. I didn't see I can't see those settings anymore. And this is what I was having an issue with, is like, why can't I see those edits anymore? It's because in order to speed up this program, they are applying them each time you use a tool. So you are only working on the raw data in the very beginning. Then that gets baked into the photo. Then you start working in Enhance AI, and now it's changing those pixels. You go up into Structure, it's changing those pixels. If I go over here into Tools, geez, I can even add another Develop again. So this is one cool thing. You can add stacks of tools on top of each other, the same tools, but now I am not working on the raw data. And we can go ahead here, and I just made an adjustment on shadows, and we go into edits, and we can see here that, look, I have the Develop Raw, but then the Enhance, then the Structure, and then the Develop, working on pixels that have already been changed, not my raw data. Is that going to cause a visual issue with your image? Possibly. It possibly can. In terms of banding in particular, that's where I find images that stop looking good. I have seen some banding in some of the testing that I had here, and I'll explain which tool I saw the banding in, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But just wanted to let you know about this new workflow. So past versions of Luminar were non-destructive. Nothing got applied until you hit that apply button or you exported it. Same thing as in Lightroom. But in here, they're trying to speed up the program, speed up the export. This is how they designed it. I'm not a fan of it. I like a linear tool panel here. I like bouncing around. I like going to Develop. I like going back to Enhance and then right back up to Develop. But now this workflow, I have to jump over to Edits, go down there, go down to Enhance, lose all the edits that I previously saw, make some adjustments, hope that it made a difference once all those other adjustments get baked in. And it's not a very friendly workflow. Let's talk about another change that they did, the presets. Let's go into presets. Presets are over here on the right, and we can just go ahead and select any preset. And do note, when you do a preset, it erases all your other edits. It does not get applied on top of all your edits. This would actually work if you could do an adjustment layer inside of layers, but there's no adjustment layers inside of layers yet. We'll get to layers in a moment. But with the presets, you have your preset. It has now removed all of those edits that I did, totally wiped them out. We got the preset now, it's working. I can adjust the opacity of that preset. I can give it a heart rating if I like that preset. Can I go and edit any of the tools that preset. The presets are basically made of combinations of tools and slider settings. In past versions of Luminar, you could apply a preset and then see exactly which tools were used in that preset and then make adjustments to it. You do not have that option right now inside of Luminar Neo. So if you have a preset that happens to put a lot of grain in your photo and you don't like all that grain, well, don't use that preset. That's all you can do. And speaking about presets, you can't save your own yet either. I'll be talking about presets in a little bit on the what's missing, but let me just let you know that's where we are right now in this current version. Now, those are some of the differences. Let's talk about a couple of the new things that are in here. We have Relight AI. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. This looked really promising in the photos and in all the literature that Luminar put out before, Skylum put out before. Let's take a look at one of their photos here because it seems to work better for portraits than it does for landscape photos. So let's go ahead and sort of get a win here on a good edit. So we'll just wait for this screen to redraw. They did supposedly increase the speed. I am seeing some speed improvements in some areas of the program. In other areas, I'm really not. If we go to Relight, we got some sliders here. And if I go ahead and do the brightness near, I'll just bring that out to a max. And we'll wait a second because the AI is checking things out. And it does this depth map. So it's trying to figure out what to relight in the foreground versus the background. And it does a really good job selecting her and brightening her up. And maybe we don't go that high. Maybe we go something like this. And let's go brightness far. Let's darken that down a little bit. So actually, let's give her just a little bit more brightness so we can see some better skin tones. Okay, really cool. We have some other adjustments here. We can do the warmth near and far. Getting a little bit of a halo here, almost looks like some rim lighting, but you know, the masking is very soft on the edges of this relight. But it does do a pretty decent job on this photo here. Where it's failing is in some landscape photos that I've been testing. Let's take a look at, make sure that's a raw file. That is a raw file. And let's go into the edit section here. And let's go to Relight AI. And let's just crank up that brightness near. We'll wait for a second here while the AI figures out what's in the photo. And we will wait. And come on, there we go. Oh, finally figured it out. Okay. And then just to show you where this transition is going, brightness far. Basically, what it's just really doing is a linear gradient. And I've seen this in a lot of landscape photos. It's having a hard time figuring out any depth in the photo. I have a feeling because my photo has focus throughout the entire image. And I think part of the AI is relying on what's in focus and what's not in focus based on portraits to then determine a depth map and determine what is near and what is far. So honestly, with this adjustments here, I would just be better served using a linear gradient on this particular photo. I did find another photo that, you know, landscape-ish kind of photo that it did work a little bit better in. Let's go ahead and take a look at this photo here. And we'll go to Relight, and I'll just crank out that brightness near, and we'll wait just a second for it to figure out what is near and what is far. Everything in this photo is in focus. So, but, you know, it has this big, huge object, so it's probably thinking that this might be sort of a portrait, and I don't know. And, you know, it did a pretty decent job. Let me darken this down. Again, you can see that masking. The masking is very soft edged. So it's gotten most of this water tower, grain tower, whatever it is in the foreground here, but we got some, you know, darkness over here. We can adjust what is, whoops, that was a wrong slider. We can adjust the depth. So we can go near and far, but we can see what that transition is doing. So for this photo here, a little bit more usable than the other landscape photo that I told you about. So Relight AI, kind of a little bit hit and miss. Let's talk about something else that's a little hit and miss too. And let's go ahead. There's another new feature in here, and that is to remove the power lines. And let's go ahead and grab this photo. And I already made a couple adjustments in this photo. We can see here, oh, I already did the erase. Let me delete that. Erase power lines, and I did some raw develop, maybe Might have just done the, yeah, it looks like I just did the accent AI. And that's all the adjustments that I did. Got some power lines here. Let's go ahead and check this out. So the remove power lines is under erase. I'm going to click on remove power lines. And now the AI is going to be looking for power lines in my photo and trying to remove them. And we'll just wait just a little bit here while this does remove them. I'm not going to speed up the video so you can see just how fast this works. I'm on an M1 Mac Mini on the computer here, and we'll just wait just a little bit more to remove them. Now, this is taking a while. A lot of computation going on, I'm sure, in the background, trying to figure out what a power line is, what it isn't, then erasing them, trying to blend it. I'm not trying to make excuses, but it does take a little while. And it takes a little while. And now they have been removed. Let's see what that looked like before and after. Well, I do have an eyedropper out here on the erase. If I click on before, here's another bug. Not going to give me a before and after there. The only way I could do a before is down here. I'll click and hold on that, and then we have the before. Now, this before is not showing it just on the tool. It's also removing all the AI enhancements that I did in the Enhance AI. So that's why the image changed a little bit, but now we can at least see the power lines and see the removal. So not a bad job. I mean, it did get rid of those across the sky, started getting rid of the pole a little bit. But what we need to do is zoom in on this pole and get rid of this pole, because having a pole with no power lines looks kind of silly, right? So let me go ahead and just shrink my brush size down, because now what we're going to do is erase this, and we'll just go through here and erase this pole, go straight down here, and we'll go ahead and click on erase. So you will have some cleanup that you need to do a lot of times on the power lines. Now, the erase tool has never been a favorite of mine in Luminar. It just, boy, most of the time it does not look good. And I can even see it right here. Let's go to the before and after. If we're paying attention right over here, I have my cursor right over this. This is repeated from here. So it's not really a good healing brush. It's almost cloning it. So I have repeatable patterns in the photo here and here. Be careful with the erase tool. I would suggest using the clone and stamp tool to remove that, but the clone and stamp tool is not in this version. I'll talk about that under the what's missing. Let's take a look at another photo on the erase, the power lines. Let's go here onto edit, and got some power lines right over here. Let's go ahead and click on erase, and let's go ahead and remove power lines. This time I'm going to speed up the video so you don't have to wait as long as the last time. Okay, power lines are removed. So as part of the poll, not too bad. What else has been removed? We also had a power line up on top here. Looked like it did a pretty good job there. And let's go ahead and do that undo, and or not the undo, preview. And we take a look here. Did a pretty decent job of that power line going across. But what happened to my truck? Let's go over here. It thought my antenna was part of a power line. It thought my windshield wipers were a power line. It thought the hood of the truck was a power line. It thought the Route 66 sign was a power line. Look at this. We'll go back here, before and after, before and after. A little bit of hit and miss still on the erase. Now there is another thing here. We have removed dust spots. Let's go ahead and pull up a photo, and let's go ahead and remove some dust spots. Now, I had to go back into my archives to find photos with dust spots. Had to go back to all my Sony images with my Olympus. I just don't have dust spots, so this tool isn't that important to me anymore. But let's go ahead and just do a couple of quick adjustments here, because I want to make these dust spots really stand out so I can show you how the dust spot removal does. So I'm going to just crank up the accent AI. Let's go ahead and just crank up some structure here, give it a little bit of a boost, and maybe even give it some details too. So we'll crank up the details, and man, I do not miss my Sony days. Look at all this dust in here. Okay, but let's get remove dust spots to the rescue here. I'm going to go ahead and click on remove dust spots, and let's take a look and see how good of a job this does. And this time I won't speed up the video either. We'll see just how long this takes to do on this Sony full frame RAW file. And it's taken a little while. There are a lot of dust spots. Maybe I should have sped this video up for you guys. We got dust spots in the water, in the sky. While I'm killing time here, this was photographed in Texas a number of years ago. Nice storm coming up over in the background. How many of you are fast forwarding through this part of the video right now? Okay, here we go. The spots are removed. It removed most of them. I can see, a couple. There's a dust spot here still. There's a dust spot in the cloud, but it did a pretty decent job until, look at this. Now this I didn't see in the testing. I saw it on another photo that I was doing, which I don't have to bring that up now. Look at the banding going on in this photo in the sky. What the heck is that? My guess is what I was talking about before. We're not working on the raw file anymore. We are working on a multiple rendered file here with all the different layers, tools that I've been using, not layers, tools that I've been using. Here's some banding going on in here. Okay, that is just not going to work. I don't like that. Let's go ahead and go under edits where we can go ahead and undo that. And okay, there's all our dust spots. I don't need that because I'll manually get rid of these dust spots. I don't want to see them. Let me go ahead and trash that. Here's another bug I found. What the heck? This is not how my photo looked before with the adjustments. So there's some rendering things going on here, some issues. And look at that. I still actually have that banding in my photo. And I just clicked on that. All right, I'm not sure what's going on here. The banding has gotten worse. The noise has gotten worse. And just by me clicking on the thumb on the zoom in, it went to another version and back. I don't know what's going on here, but there's some bugs in here for sure. Now there is another new feature in here called Luminar Share. I did a video on that. I'm not going to go into that right now, but it's a way for you to share photos from your Luminar catalog to your phone, iPhone or Android, and you can take photos on your phone, send them to your Lightroom or Luminar catalog back and forth. That's it. No editing on the phone, but just moving them back and forth. I have a video. I'll put a link on in the bottom there so you can go ahead and watch that video to see what that's all about. Now let's go ahead and switch to layers. Big, huge thing when Luminar AI came out, no layers. Luminar 4 had layers. Luminar 3 had layers. We had layers for a long time. No layers in Luminar AI. A lot of us were frustrated. We have layers now in Luminar Neo. Let's go ahead and explore that for a second here. Okay, so I got this photo, and let me just go ahead and just throw an accent AI to the rescue here, and maybe we'll just give this just a touch structure, make that nice and a little bit grittier. Okay, and we'll wait for that structure to apply. Okay, structure's been applied. Over here on the left-hand side is our layers panel. Let me just warn you, this really should be called textures, because this is not really layers in the traditional sense. It does say add a new layer. Let's go ahead and click on add a new layer. And look at all this. We have flares, light leaks, sparklers, stardust bokeh. This is all from Skylum, and these are all textures. You can add your own. So you can click on load image, then you can add your own, and then they automatically get added to my images, a section up here. I really think that they only made this for textures. If you right click on any one of these photos that you've already added, you can click on Show in Finder. I assume on Windows it'd be Show in Explorer, and you can see where they store this in your computer. So each time you load a texture or a new layer into Luminar, what it does is it makes a copy of that file, puts it in this hidden area on your hard drive, which you can click on Show in Finder, and it ends up being in a folder called Textures. It also makes another copy of it inside your catalog cache area there where it saves all of your edits. They did that so that if you end up removing this from your system and remove it from that hidden textures file, at least there's a backup copy of it in your catalog so that you don't end up deleting your textures and then next time you open up a photo that had a texture in it, all of a sudden that disappears. But it is at a penalty because now it's double the storage space on your hard drive. So your catalog is going to increase in size, and that hidden folder in textures is going to increase in size. You can at least manage that by deleting it. Here's another issue here. These textures, actually all three of these textures here, one's actually a photo, they are horizontal. And actually, let's just do this for silliness sake. Let's click on this photo here. This is actually a photo, and we're going to add this as a layer. And what it did was it distorted it and made it fit into a vertical format, because this photo, this Coca-Cola photo, is a vertical photo. The layer itself is this photo here that I added is a horizontal, but it distorted it vertically and arranged it to fit inside here, as opposed to traditionally layers in Photoshop. You bring a layer in and it stays the same pixel size, irregardless of the pixel size down below. It stays the same proportion, irregardless of the original proportion that you're bringing it in. So I can go ahead here and, shrink this down. It's still in that vertical position. I'd have to go like this and shrink this down, and then the photo is going to look more normal on this. So that's a bit of a concern right there. There's also a whole lot of other concerns in terms of layers and what's missing, and I will be certainly talking about that when I talk about what's missing in just a moment. But let's just say I didn't want this. Let's go ahead and I can hide the layer, or I can remove the layer. So if I hide the layer, let's just go ahead and try that. Hide the layer. Layer is hidden. Let's go ahead and add a new one. Let's add this texture. This texture again. Come on, let's get that texture in there. This texture was a horizontal. It comes in at a vertical. And, I can rotate this and everything like that. But again, the pixels are distorted because it made it into a vertical. I can't zoom out anymore in my photo either. Like, let's say I just wanted to extend this up here and then extend this up here. Well, I can extend it out, but now all of a sudden I can't grab that anymore. And I'm trying to hit the zoom button to get out of here. I can't shrink my photo down to see that bounding box up on top here. I have to kind of move this down and drag this down. It's a mess. But let's just say we got this here, and this is exactly the positioning that I wanted on this texture. Over here, we have the opacity, normal opacity. It starts off at 50. We have our blending modes, although when you hover over these, you can't see what they are. So you do your normal blending modes here, and I can flip the texture horizontal or flip it vertical. And that's it. Really, these are all just texture controls. There's no adjustment layers. There's no stamp layers. I have a list. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But layers right now, very, very, very basic. It's more like the texture tool that used to be in earlier versions of Luminar. All right, now I think we need to get into the what's missing. And let me go ahead here, and I got lists of what is missing in this program. Let's go ahead and just start in the catalog area. And this is what's missing currently in version 1.0.0 of Luminar Neo compared to the most recent versions of Luminar 4 and Luminar AI. In terms of the catalog, there are no color tags. We cannot add color tags to sort our photos. There's no star ratings. There's no copy and paste settings to multiple pictures. So any settings that I'm doing here, I can't copy and paste them into other photos, other settings. There's no image, rotate, and flip. Let me go ahead and just show you, because this was here. If we go under image, and let me just go ahead and get out of here, go back to my catalog. If I go under image, we can set flag, no color tags, no nothing over there. If we just take a look at Luminar AI, we could take the photo, we could set flag, couldn't do color tags, that was in Luminar 4, but we could flip it, we could rotate it here. Can't do that in this Luminar Neo as it stands right now. So, got problems with that. Let's go into the edit. All right, so under edit, there is, and this is in no particular order, but there is a ton of things missing here. We have no histogram, no dodge and burn tool, no clone tool, no radial, gradient, or luminosity masks, no copy and pasting of masks, no pen pressure for radius or opacity, no ability to save presets. Yes, that is right. We cannot save presets right now. No ability to see which tools were used in the presets, and I already showed you that. No augmented sky AI. That was in Luminar AI. They removed that. I guess they're figuring we can just do that in layers. So they removed augmented sky AI. There's no split view before and after preview in Luminar Neo. There's no undo or redo. Unbelievable. No undo or redo. There's no catalog conversion. You were working on your photos in Luminar 4 or AI. Currently, there is no way to convert the photos that you did in that catalog into Luminar Neo. They said that they are working on that. They said it's a priority. No idea when and if that's ever going to appear. And there's no preset conversion either. Same thing. They said they're working on it. No idea when it's coming, but they said that that is a priority too. So any of your old presets, not going to work right now in Luminar Neo. I was just talking about layers. What is missing in layers? No ability to turn off layers. Actually, we could hide them. So we were able to hide them, but there's no ability to rasterize or duplicate your layers or rename them. Can't zoom out for layer resizing, which I was showing you there when I had the texture. There's no fill, scale to fit, or fit options when you add a new layer. There's no add adjustment layer, no create a stamp layer, no merge layers. This isn't layers right now. This is textures. It's a texture tool. Bugs. I've had some issues with removing the dust spots. We saw that. Sometimes I've done adjustments and I did the tool, and then those adjustments really literally did disappear. And I've gone to the catalog, and all of a sudden my photo was like right from day one, where I didn't do any adjustments, even though I did some adjustments. Hasn't happened often. It happened once to me. Tool's not applied, and thumbnails not rendering correctly. We saw that on the Coca-Cola earlier in this video. And I have had a crash or two as well. Now, what is coming in the future? We are missing a couple things that they were announcing way back in September 9th. A couple new AI things such as Mask AI and Portrait Background AI. Those are coming in future updates. Not sure when those are coming either. Oh boy. That is why I cannot recommend this program right now. They needed to work on this a while longer. They pre-sold this back in early September. Here we are now, February 17th, and outside of a couple new AI features with the Luminar Share and with the Relight AI and the power lines and dust spots, we don't really have anything new after all this time, and we've lost track. We've lost ground compared to earlier versions of Luminar, like Luminar 4 and Luminar AI. So unfortunately, I cannot recommend this right now. I do know that they are working really hard on trying to get this up to speed, literally and figuratively, with new features and promised updates. All of those are a priority. I do not have any information as to when. So I hate to say that to my friends at Skylum, if I still have any more friends after this review, but I had to tell you guys the truth. Can't recommend this right now. Hopefully I can do another video in the future where they improve this and Luminar Neo gets to be at least equal to, or ideally becomes a heck of a lot better than Luminar 4 and Luminar AI combined. So that's it. That's my Luminar Neo review. Thanks for sticking around this long if you've been watching this entire review. Again, I'm Matt Suess. If you liked what you saw, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button. Don't hit that unlike button if you don't like Luminar Neo, but hit the like button if you did appreciate my honesty in this video, and I'll see you in another video.